Hey, what's up everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another official track motocross gameplay on MX Simulator. And today, round number 8 of the 2017 National Motocross Championship. Millville in Minnesota, Spring Creek National this weekend coming up. And again, a typical gameplay video this time around. I'm going to spend a couple laps talking kind of about this track and it being built in sim and what it's like this year. And then dive into my thoughts and opinions on real life motocross and things and happenings and all the good stuff like that. So usually this is the video where you kind of get maybe caught up on things from the week off or just the week of in general, so you kind of know more about the race going into it. This video will end up being released the day of the race, well, the morning of the race. So unfortunately you won't get to have a lot of time to see this video beforehand, so this video is going to not be very timely for very long, but figured I'd make it anyway, and we're going to have some fun with it, I think. The real problem in getting the video out so late this week for viewing wise, normally I like to have these videos come out Wednesday, Thursday-ish, so that they get a couple good days of viewage. People can listen to my thoughts and opinions and usually comment back on them. On those opinions as well, and I can hear people out. But this track was released yesterday morning and raced last night in the Race Factory Gaming competition. So I spent all of yesterday dealing with, getting the live stream set up for that race and all that business. So I didn't quite get around to making this video because of that, and the track being released late obviously meant I could not do it earlier. So just put me a little bit behind. I don't think I honestly would have been able to get it done early anyway. I think I was a little bit busy this week with other stuff that it would have held me back. But that's why it is coming out late, and the Race Factory Gaming track crew did design this one again, or update, whatever you want to call it. So they did a pretty good job with it. It raced pretty well last night. It seemed like for the most part there was a lot of different lines you could take, and people were moving around the track. There's good passing. It's got a very, good base to it, I think, because this track has been on the schedule for so long that they've kind of been able to lay down the same base year after year and just make a few tweaks here and there, and the track doesn't change that much every year. I think the biggest change it's had in recent memory was at the addition of Mount Martin, which is about halfway through the lap. I'll point it out when I go by next time. And so the Race Factory Gaming track crew updated that a few years ago, and they've had it on this track for a while. So this is really just fixing bumps and stuff like that. I think Chris actually did do kind of a big overhaul though, like he kind of relaid a lot of the foundation as well. So good on him. Good on the Race Factory Gaming track crew to get it out. Obviously we had a week off, so some people were a bit frustrated that it took them so long to release the track, but that's just what happens. As I said, it did have a lot of lines that seemed to work when it came to the race. You could go pretty much anywhere and at least not lose a ton of time, but also possibly make passes on people making mistakes if they were in the main line and stuff like that, which is always what track creators, I think, try to do. And it feels very Millville-y to me. Like I said, it's got a good sandy feel. It's you can tell it's got a hard base and that there's good traction, but it does feel like there's more roll resistance in the traction, so it holds you back a little bit more. It's not even close to Southwick or Lommel or any of the other sand tracks that have been made in this game. But obviously this isn't necessarily a sand track. It does have sand on it, but I wouldn't really classify it as that. It's got some sandy characteristics, but it's got a very hard base underneath, and people always say that every year about Millville anyway. So I think they got the traction spot on. I think the layout's pretty good. It's like this almost every year. They kind of re-added the catapult. This uphill triple isn't as big anymore. Obviously Mount Martin is only a couple years old, but track flows well. I would recommend downloading it, which you can in the description below, and trying it out for yourself. I'm going to try to stop crashing because honestly I was going kind of fast when I started playing this track just 10 laps ago, and I felt like it didn't take me that long to get the lines down and be able to run consistent sub 2 minute 30-second lap times, which is honestly pretty good for me these days, because that was maybe 10 seconds off of the race pace those guys were able to run, the top 450 guys, and I used to be about 4 seconds off of their race pace when I did race. So for not playing the game at all to be about 10 seconds off for a couple laps in a row. I felt pretty good about that, and I'm going to try to feel good about that still, try to run some good laps. I think it probably helps that I've already seen the pro race in sim happen, so I know the lines that these guys were taking, and it's a little bit more beneficial for me, but I digress about that. I mean, I would have figured it out anyway, I think. But let's talk about some real-life moto. Obviously, we did have the final off week of the season, so from here on out, it is just a grind, if you will. We got Millville, then Washougal coming up after that. Unadilla, Budds Creek, and Ironman, the last 5 nationals of the year. All successive in a row, taking us to the end of the season at the end of August. And then Motocross the Nations team is going to be announced in a few weeks. I'll be sure to have a nice long video discussing that. For the USA at least, there's already been some MXDN teams that have been announced already. None of the super big players, although that could have changed by the time I made this video, so I don't know. But USA hasn't been announced. That usually doesn't happen until Unadilla, so we're still a couple weeks out from that. Just on a hunch, I would have to assume, given that Anderson just had a big crash, lost a lot of championship points, and Baggett and Tomac seem to be kind of the 1-2 punch anyway, that they're going to get picked for the 450 class. But there could be the scenario again like Tomac had last year where Monster Energy kind of forced him to race the USGPs. He decided, all right, well then if you're going to make me do that, I don't want to race MXON. And so he pulled out, and that may open the door to have Anderson and Baggett be our 450 guys. I know both of them would probably want to go. They don't seem to waver at that. Anderson, I think, deserves kind of redemption for his mishaps last year. If he never goes back to the MX Nations again, which I don't think is going to happen, I think he's going to get another shot at some point. But if he doesn't, I mean, that's pretty crazy to think that Anderson might be one of the few riders ever to show up at the MXDN his only time, race one moto in his MXDN career, win that moto, and never race again. I mean, like, how many rare circumstances is it that a guy wins a moto, gets landed on, and is knocked out and cannot compete in his second moto? I mean, that's... I don't think we're going to see something like that ever happen again. But anyway, I hope he gets a chance to have some redemption, at least a little bit. But I would, like I said, say right now they should pick 450-wise Baggett and Tomac. They could throw the curveball in that a lot of the Euro teams like to do by picking Baggett, Tomac, and Anderson and putting one of them on a 250F, which a lot of I've seen Belgium do it recently with Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. I've seen Italy do it with Antonio Cairoli. It's all happened pretty recently for a lot of those big teams and their big name riders. And the USA never seems to want to do that. And, you know, whether that's good or bad, I don't really know. But either way, we do usually have a pretty talented 250 guy go. It's not like the 250 class is weak. And I think that they should and probably will pick Zach Osborne. He's probably going to win the championship. And even if he doesn't, I think he's kind of proved that he's consistently been like the fastest guy. And if he doesn't win the championship, it'll probably be because of an injury anyway. He's that far ahead in the championship standings now. So I think they're going to pick Osborne. I'd have to say it'd probably be, you know, Baggett, Tomac, Osborne right now. But that could change a couple weeks. Unadilla comes up, and I'm sure they're going through the whole phase of making the phone calls and getting everybody set for that whole ordeal. But that's not what I'm talking about this week. I'm talking about the Millville National. We're coming off of Southwick, where, as expected, Tomac dominated the 450 class. He was killer at Southwick last year and kicked even Ken Roxon's butt there, so it's kind of expected that he would win there again, and he laid claim to the field like nobody was even in the same realm. Musquin was honestly going probably the closest to as fast Tomac was going all day long, but even Musquin could not match that pace, and despite putting in a pretty good effort to keep him behind him, as soon as Tomac got by, Tomac sprinted away. Musquin tried to follow him, made a big mistake, had a gnarly crash, jumped off the track, and ended up DNFing, so that's what it's just, I mean, that's kind of how it is. Tomac's going alien speed fast sometimes this year, and when people try to match it and he just levels up the intensity on it, other people make big mistakes trying to run that pace, which is probably why Dungey is looking like a genius now, because even as much times as Tomac just destroyed him all year long, Dungey never really said, yeah, okay, I could try to do that pace. I'll probably crash, but let's try it anyway, which we just saw Musquin do, and he crashed. So Tomac 1-1 Southwick. I kind of feel like he's on that Tomac-esque roll that we've seen happen before, where like he gets into a groove, he starts clicking off wins, he's got a bike setting he's comfortable with, and he'll be tough to beat. Millville, again, like I talked about just a little bit, is kind of got a sandy top to it. It is a hard-packed base, but Tomac should do well here. Roczen destroyed the field at this race last year, but obviously no Roczen means whoever finished second, i.e. Tomac, is probably going to do pretty well. And I think that it's just going to be Tomac's race to lose again. Like I said, he's in that groove. You know, we saw what it was like in Supercross when he got comfortable. He started clicking off wins. Every weekend he went into it knowing he's the best guy on the track. Like mentally, he was all there. The bike was working well. I mean, now Tomac has a pretty sizable points. It's not huge, but it's bigger than it's been all year long. Points lead over Baggett, so I'm sure he's oozing confidence, and I can't see that slowing down anytime soon unless Baggett gets in there and starts ruffling feathers, or maybe Musquin lights a fire under Baggett or something. I don't know. I just think Tomac is on another level right now again, and this might be the final push towards that first 450 championship that he really needed. And that is, you know, with 5 rounds to go now, I think that's kind of what we were expecting to look at, is Tomac maybe breaking away, or a couple guys breaking away from the field here at the end, and they certainly have. And I think Tomac is really just going to kind of break away on his own. But we'll see. Anything could happen. That is why they dropped the gate. Either way, I think it's really cool that Tomac finally might be able to come into his own and win a 450 championship here. If he did not wreck his balls out in 2015 outdoors, I think he would have won that championship as well. Dungey obviously won that one. Roczen had his back issues and took a while to get going. So, I mean, Tomac has been awful close to winning a 450 championship and has yet to do it. And I think that now is the time that he's finally going to break through and he's going to win it. And good for him, because he's worked hard for it, and I think that he's the best rider in the field right now, and deservedly so, is going to win this championship. At least in my opinion. We're still 5 rounds away. Anything could happen. I know. I'm just trying to voice my opinion. Think about where the championship's going. I did the same thing in Supercross where I said, you know, Tomac's on a roll, but I think Dungey still got it. And then, lo and behold, you know, things got all flipped upside down. Tomac looked like he may have taken the realm, and then Dungey still kind of gets gifted it because Tomac wads up by himself. So what are you gonna do? But that's my opinions. I think Tomac's gonna win this weekend. Will he go 1-1? I don't know. Maybe I'll just randomly say Marvin wins the first moto this weekend, and Tomac wins the second moto, goes 2-1 to win the overall. Marvin goes 1-3 or 4 for second, or maybe even 1-2 for second. Baggett, I think, will finish third overall because Anderson is still coming back from that injury this week, and I don't know how close to 100% he is. I mean, he got banged up pretty bad in his practice crash that kept him out of Southwick, so he might be somewhat back to normal, but you can never tell. Coming back from injuries is always tough. So we'll just have to see. What else? We'll move on to 250s. 450s, obviously, it's kind of pretty standard. 250s, maybe even more standard than 450s, given that Zach Osborne's point lead is larger than what Tomac has in the 450 class. But I don't think that it's like a clear cut. I'm sick and tired of crashing. Oh my gosh. I don't think it's clear cut that Osborne is like running away with it yet necessarily. He didn't even win both motos at Southwick. I think maybe he could have if he started more towards the front, but you know, Dylan Ferrandis went 1-2, Osborne went 2-1. So it's not like Osborne is just laying waste to the field. He is most of the time right now, but it's really just his consistency and not getting DNFs or just bad moto finishes that has kept him so far in front of the rest of the field at this point. And that, I think, is kind of going to be a continuing trend. Like I said about my possible MX Destinations pick, it's almost like Osborne would need to have like an injury or something major to not win this championship at this point, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's about 35 points up in the championship. So he's kind of looking at this thing, you know, down the barrel of the gun, really, is like, you can only hurt yourself here. Like, you could coast this thing in, pick up thirds and seconds, a win here and there, but really, as long as you just kind of stay inside of the top 5 and let things come to you, you're probably going to be champion, and I think that's kind of the mentality he's going to go with. So like I said, I don't think he's like the clear-cut favorite, fastest outright guy every week in this class right now. He could win this weekend. I am of the opinion that it's a home race for Jeremy and Alex Martin, and I know everybody always says this that the Martin brothers are going to do well there. But I mean, I really think it's true. Both of them seem like they're in a pretty good place this year. Martin's doing well. Alex Martin's doing well in the standings. J Mart's had a rough couple weeks, but I think he's rebounding somewhat. And I think that those guys are probably going to be... One of them is going to win this race this weekend. I don't know who. Alex has never won this race before. Jeremy has. So I tend to lean a little bit towards Jeremy, but I don't know. Alex seems like he's been absolutely flying this year at some points, and maybe that's, you know, he finally puts it together this weekend, finally gets a moto win, maybe finally gets the overall. But either way, I think it's going to be a Martin brother. I think Osborne will again finish on the podium. I am inclined to believe he will finish third. I don't think both Martin brothers are going to go 1-2, in my opinion. They might, but I think, you know, maybe someone will get in there. Man, just trying to pick names out of the hat. You know, Francis has looked good. I think Plessinger's going to kind of come back in full strong this weekend. But who the heck knows? I mean, it could be a plethora of guys to finish on the podium. Like I said, I definitely put Osborne and one of, if not both of the Martin brothers on the podium this weekend. What order, who knows? I don't think Osborne's going to win, but maybe he could. But that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. I could be totally wrong, and Millville does sometimes, you know, elicit surprises in the championship. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we saw James Stewart and Trey Kennard have one of the most epic battles in the second 450 moto here, and neither of them were even in close to contention for the championship at that point. So, you know, that could be a case this weekend for the 250 class, for example, where we have two guys that aren't even remotely in a championship battle come out, make things interesting, battle for perhaps a win or something along the lines like that. I will say that I think Chase Sexton is probably going to have one of his, you know, quote-unquote breakout rides this weekend. And the reason I say that is because Sexton is from Illinois, and I know that he has trained or ridden a lot at Millville. He used to ride and train with Christian Craig, who also lived in Minnesota when he was retired a couple years ago. And so I know Sexton is probably familiar with this track in some level, and Craig is going to give him pointers about it. And this might be that breakthrough ride we're kind of waiting to see for Chase Sexton. It's been a while to see him actually turn pro, and while he has put in a couple good rides so far, a couple top 10s, he's been kind of knocking on the door with some speed, but I think this is the weekend where maybe we see him hover around the top 5 even. Definitely finish inside of the top 10 though. That would be my prediction of the weekend, bold prediction if you want to call it that. It's not that bold, but maybe if you want to call it bold, is Chase Sexton with a breakout ride this weekend in the 250 class. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I got the Martin brothers winning this weekend. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, though, or think about it today, because this video is coming out the day of the race. Who is going to win? What order are they going to finish in? Maybe post in the comments the top 3 in both classes before the motos get started, and we'll see how close you get. And you know, that might be kind of cool to look back on that and see where everybody played out. I'm sorry that my writing has been so terrible in this video. I think it really is starting to affect me trying to play this game while talking and not just like focusing on the writing bit. So not the best gameplay, but that's kind of the standard with me these days. I feel like I'm getting slower and slower as the game, or as the season goes on, because I'm playing the game less and less. But I need to try to like sit down and figure it out at some point, and I will. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please go ahead and like it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Booming numbers on the channel, and I'm super stoked on it. So thanks to every single one of you that subscribe and watch our videos regularly, and all the new people that are here. I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Leave some comments below, let me respond to them, let me talk to you, let's bench race a little bit about real life moto. Thanks for watching another real life track gameplay in MX Simulator Round 8 at Millville. I'll see you guys in the next one.